My name is Mia, and there are summers that carve themselves into your soul, moments that linger like the scent of salt on your skin. That summer in the Hamptons was one of them, a season of sun-drenched days and starlit nights that unraveled the threads of my heart. At 31, I thought I knew who I was, a woman in love with her husband, Luke, a man whose laughter could chase away any storm. But when Caleb, Luke's childhood friend, stepped into our beach house, I discovered a part of myself I'd kept hidden, a part that yearned for something forbidden, something that would test the very vows I'd made. Luke and I had been married for 6 years, our life in Boston a cozy tapestry of coffee dates, late-night movies, and dreams of a family. He was my rock, with warm brown eyes and hands that knew how to hold me just right. But that summer, work had pulled him away, endless calls, emails, a promotion that demanded his soul. When he suggested a month in his family's Hamptons beach house, I saw it as our chance to reconnect, to rediscover the spark that had dimmed under the weight of routine. The house was a dream, perched on a dune overlooking the Atlantic, its white clapboard walls and wide windows catching the ocean's breath. We arrived in June, the air thick with salt and promise, and I felt a flutter of hope. Luke's arms wrapped around me as we stood on the deck, the waves crashing below, and I believed we could find our way back to each other. Then Caleb called. "He's in town for the summer," Luke said, his voice bright with nostalgia. "I invited him to stay with us. You cool with that, babe?" I nodded, smiling, because Caleb was no stranger. I'd met him at our wedding, a few barbecues, a random dinner in the city. He was charming, with tousled black hair, green eyes that sparkled like sea glass, and a grin that made you feel like you were in on a secret. I'd always liked him, maybe too much. There was something about Caleb, a quiet intensity, that stirred a warmth I tried to ignore. It was harmless, I told myself. Just a flicker, nothing more. Caleb arrived on a Friday, his Jeep kicking up gravel as he pulled into the drive. He stepped out, wearing a faded t-shirt and jeans, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "Mia," he said, his voice low and warm, "you make this place look like paradise." His eyes held mine, and I felt a flush creep up my neck, my sundress suddenly too thin against the breeze. Luke laughed, clapping Caleb on the back, and the three of us settled into an easy rhythm. Days were filled with beach walks, lobster rolls, and lazy afternoons by the pool. But it was the nights that changed everything. We'd build a bonfire on the beach, the flames casting shadows on the sand, the ocean a dark mirror under the stars. Luke would strum his guitar, his voice soft, while Caleb told stories of their teenage summers, mischief, first loves, dreams they'd chased and lost. I'd watch Caleb, the firelight dancing in his eyes, and feel a pull, a current I couldn't name. One night, after too much wine, Luke fell asleep on the couch, leaving Caleb and me by the bonfire. The air was warm, the waves a gentle lullaby, and I felt bold, reckless. "You're different here," Caleb said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Like you're holding something back." I looked at him, my heart racing. "Maybe I am," I said, my voice trembling. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my cheek, and for a moment, I thought he might kiss me. But he didn't. Instead, he brushed a strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingering, and I felt a fire ignite inside me. The days that followed were a dance of glances and touches, his hand brushing mine as we passed a wine glass, his knee grazing mine under the dinner table. Luke was there, his arm around me, but he was distracted, his phone buzzing with work. I loved him, but Caleb's presence was a spark, a temptation I couldn't ignore. One stormy night, the power went out, and we lit candles, the beach house glowing with flickering light. Luke was on a call in the study, leaving Caleb and me in the living room, the rain pounding the windows. "Dance with me," Caleb said, his voice low, and before I could think, I was in his arms, swaying to the rhythm of the storm. His hands rested on my waist, his touch sending shivers through me, and when he leaned down, his lips found mine. The kiss was slow, deep, a promise of things I'd never dared to dream. I parted my thighs slightly, my sundress riding up, and his hand slipped under the fabric, tracing fire along my skin. I arched against him, lost in the heat of the moment, until Luke's voice called from the hall, breaking the spell. Guilt flooded me, but so did desire. The next night, Luke planned a bonfire, but a work emergency pulled him away, leaving Caleb and me alone again. We sat by the fire, the air thick with unspoken words. "Mia," Caleb whispered, his hand finding mine, "I can't stop thinking about you." I should have pulled away, but I didn't. I leaned into him, my lips meeting his, and the kiss deepened, hungry and desperate. He lifted me onto the sand, his hands roaming, and I Rastavila Noski, yielding to the tide of desire. He kissed the petals of my heart, his touch a symphony of warmth, and I trembled, caught in a moment that felt like forever. The summer became a blur of stolen moments, kisses in the dunes, embraces under the stars, nights where Caleb's hands explored every curve of my soul. Luke was there, his love steady, but Caleb was a flame, burning through my defenses. One night, as we lay tangled in the guest room, the ocean roaring outside, Caleb whispered, "What if we didn't stop?" I opened my mouth, expecting the warmth of his love, but the weight of my vows held me back. The final week, Luke sensed something. His eyes lingered on me, his touch more possessive. At the last bonfire, he pulled me close, his lips claiming mine, and I felt the love we'd built. But Caleb watched, his gaze a silent plea, and I knew I stood at a crossroads. The summer ended, and we left the beach house, the memories a secret I carried like a seashell, fragile and precious. Now, years later, I'm still with Luke, our love stronger for the trials we've faced. Caleb is a memory, a spark that taught me about desire, about the parts of myself I'd hidden. That summer in the Hamptons was my rebellion, my awakening, a chapter I'll never forget.